Welcome to the Life Well Lived, Paving Your Own Way to Growth podcast. In this episode, we'll be talking about settling and how it can affect your growth. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome. This is the Life Well Lived, Paving Your Own Way to Growth podcast. My name is Gina Torres.
And I am Justin Harris. And today we are going to get right into the quote. And that quote is, always know the difference between what you're getting and what you deserve. So always know the difference between what you're getting and what you deserve. Now, today's topic is never settle. So we thought that was a great quote because, you have to know the difference between what you're getting, what you deserve, and settling, because if you're settling and you get, and we're going to talk about this with jobs in particular, well, not just jobs, but in general, obviously. So what you're getting, if you're just getting, the bare minimum and you're stuck with that and you're settling for that versus what you deserve, if you know you deserve more, definitely continue to grow and continue to go on from there. So, with jobs, that's like a big thing with people, because a lot of people just settle with jobs, right? A lot of people just settle with jobs that they don't want or that's not in their field. Right out of high school, it's a little different when you're coming out of high school, because okay, I'm getting a job to go through school to make some money. But then as you get out of high school, next thing you know, you're like, all right, what's my career? What's my path? But let me just do this first just to make some money. Next thing you know, you're stuck in that job for 20 years. But why is that?
Right. I think it's important to know, just going back to this quote, it can be careers, it can be, part-time jobs, it can be full-time jobs, it can be whatever. And especially right now, the movement is, especially like I've been seeing a lot of things on LinkedIn. You see a lot of people who are leaving jobs, getting new jobs, working from home now. There's been a lot of things that just kind of moved in the marketplace. And I feel personally like if you're not offering, something to your employees that is going to make them stay, like maybe an increase in pay, but even how you treat them, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to work for an employer who just blatantly, is disrespectful, or maybe, someone who has just been treating you, a certain way since you started, or, doesn't give you the praise or the recognition that you want, right? So I think the movement right now in the marketplace is definitely that people are leaving their jobs because they're not settling. And we went from a culture that kind of settled for really whatever they can kind of get.
Yeah.
I know, especially like my parents and a lot of my family members who have settled for jobs. And now we are in this new wave where, like, millennials and Gen X like are coming in, and we're like, yeah, like if it's not this and this, like I'm not taking it. And that's good, because like what goes with the quote, the difference between knowing what you're getting and what you deserve, right? So I'm getting this job, but like this is what I deserve with it. So you can have both, but this is what I want. If I deserve this because I bring this value to your organization, then this is what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like we're making a better job of recognizing that and telling our employers, like, listen, like, no, this isn't what I'm going to accept. And now it's a retention thing. So what are you going to do to retain me as an employee, in your company? So
I think there's a lot more. I think there's a lot more. And then employers are going to start to recognize that here soon. I do know, forget who I was talking with. Somebody I was talking with was telling me about a friend of theirs who went to school for years in their specific profession, and they didn't accept a job that apparently in that profession was paying decently, but he was like, no, we went to school for this, we deserve this certain amount of money, this is what I deserve. I don't care if this is one of the best jobs around right now. We deserve what we deserve. I'm not going to settle for this. I'm not taking this job. And everybody was like, what are you doing? Take the job. It's good money. And he's like, that's not what I'm worth. So it's also about knowing what you're worth, the time that you've put into a specific aspect of life or specific job or specific profession, trade, whatever the case may be. You have to know that also, because it's true. Going back to settling for jobs, I think one of the most important things is, yeah, the money may be good, so that's why you settled in that and you took that job. But like you said before, if your boss is just very tough on you, mentally draining, next thing you know, your health's deteriorating, your mental health's deteriorating, and then there's a whole nother slew of problems that you, just because you settled for this one thing instead of finding what you're passionate about and or finding something that you deserve. Now you have other things that you have to put on top of of this job that you have now settled for. So
Right. And a lot of people who are, changing these jobs that they've even been at for years. I mean, I'm talking about me even almost retired from the positions, or, have been there for 10 plus years. A lot of them are going, reflecting on, okay, well, what's the work-life balance look like? And it's
mhm,
like these whole 2 years have made people realize, if it's not if there's not a good work-life balance, or if I, don't have maybe like a hybrid schedule or some sort of family time, and
yeah,
it affects my mental health, then like I'm leaving. And
right,
people have gone, especially people that I know, they've left, jobs without any backup plans. And they're like, listen, I can't take this anymore, or I'm not dealing with this anymore. And I mean, myself included, I've done that too.
yeah,
um, I was like, yeah, I'm talking about people that I know. I'm like, no, yeah, yeah, you
yeah,
too, you too.
yeah,
I've left jobs and not had a background, or a backup plan rather,
mhm,
because I've just been so either mentally tapped, or my mental health was affected, or I've left somewhere that morally and ethically was not aligned with my morals and ethics. So, you know, I refuse to say anything like that. And I think that that's what makes us, different in our generation,
right,
especially, that we don't do stuff like that. We won't go to work every day and be miserable
right,
anymore,
right.
so.
And now I'm not, don't get me wrong, I don't, and for me anyway, I'm not saying to up and quit your job today. If you do,
Right.
you know what I mean, like, if you're not liking it, quit now. Don't do that. But because yes, a plan is always good, but there, like you said, if it gets unbearable, if there's like, you're questioning, yourself, if you're questioning things, if you're just really struggling mentally, one, reach out to us as well. We'll definitely love to speak with you about that. But two,
I'll tell you to leave. Justin won't. No.
right, right. I'm like, well, hold on, let's talk about this.
I'm like, get out of that
Right. But we'll definitely have a couple different perspectives on it. But we're here to help you anyway. And but there is a fine line between, okay, listen, you probably want to leave this now. Um, I know you don't have a plan in set right now, but it's sounding like time, and there are times and places for that. So a question that I do have is like, what does settling actually mean for you? Like, so Gina, what does settling mean for you?
Ooh, that's a great question, Justin. I wish you would have prepped me for this one.
I like the candidness. Yeah.
um, yeah. So I guess settling for me would be doing something that, I don't want to say that I know that I'm better
Mhm.
better than, but I guess that I hold more value in a different space, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of settling for something that I'm more. I don't know. That's a weird. I don't
Yeah.
want to sound like cocky or anything like
Right.
that,
Right. So for just to kind of give you, like, for me, what I think of for settling, it's one, it means more limitations. For
Mhm.
me, it means giving up on dreams and goals that you might not, yeah, like, it might take a while to get to them, but you're giving up on them essentially. But not only just dreams and goals, but you're also giving up on yourself. That, because if you're settling, that means that you're like, you know what, I'm just not good enough to do this, so I'm just going to settle for this. So
Right.
to me, settling does mean like more limitations and giving up on dreams and goals and yourself.
Yeah, I definitely think that it's you're limiting yourself when you settle.
Mhm.
Especially knowing the value that you can bring to the table, whether it's an employer, whether it's, a team aspect, whether it's, um, whatever it is. But I guess for me, settling would just be, you're doing something that you really don't want to do.
Mhm.
In like layman's terms,
Yeah.
you're doing something that you really don't want to do. You could be doing better, but like you're going to do this for whatever your reason is, but you're going
Right.
to do something that you just really don't love to do, but
Mhm.
you'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, like you said before, before us, our parents did it. And to be honest, I was actually talking to my mom probably about a week ago about this. She was like, "Oh man, I really wanted to be a child psychologist." She was like, "But I just kept going to school, and or one of her teachers told her that she wasn't that smart or something to that extent." And so then that's what she thought. She was like, I'm just going to go work then. So she settled instead of continuing on with that dream. And that's what right there is what I mean. Like she just gave up. Not saying
Right.
it was a bad thing. She made the choice that she thought was right at the time. She was also in freaking high school. So she probably didn't even know what she was thinking at the time. Because,
Yeah.
but
But that also enrages me because, I mean, there have been so many stories of kids who haven't been good in school, but are like,
yes,
amazing at their craft or whatever they do.
yes,
And for a teacher to say that to your mom, it's like, if that was my daughter, I have some beef. Like I'd be at
yeah,
that school, and because look at the effect that it had on her. Look at the
mhm,
effect on her psyche. She went from like having this goal and this dream that she was reaching to
yeah.
having somebody that told her that she wasn't good enough to do so, and it switched her whole life path.
Mhm. And here she is years and years later still thinking about it,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
if you're still thinking about it, that means that it really you took that to heart, and it's something that she's never going to forget. And like you said, it's if you're an educator, and like why did you even get into she settled for that position because it obviously wasn't a passion of hers. And even if it was at first and then she lost interest, she settled and stayed there, and now she's taking it out on other people,
Right.
or she was taking it out on other people, but now she's hindering the growth of others, and I just
Yeah.
can't get down with that. That's just
Right. No, absolutely. And and that's unfortunate. I actually was a guest speaker at one of the girls' academies last week,
yeah.
and I had these really, really tough conversations with these young women because they just thought that they were so limited. It was a career fair, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, me with my background and stuff like that. It's
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, you can do whatever you want.
Mhm.
And they're like, yeah, well, this is what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, like, what do you mean that's like, what you want to do, but like, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, I like writing or whatever, but like, I can't make any money from that. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't make any money from that? Like, that's maybe like right now you can't,
Yeah.
but when you graduate from here, you get a job that funds your passion. And
Yeah.
like, that is what you do. That is exactly what you do. And if there's not a name for it or direction or a path that somebody has already done, you make one.
Yeah.
And it's just like tough to hear that from these young women because often we're put in a box. And, I mean, a lot of what society does is we put people in boxes and they're like, all right, well, these are your paths that you can go. You can be a doctor, a lawyer, nurse, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Half of them didn't even think about anything with business. They were just like, oh, yeah, I'm just like doctor. I want to
Yeah.
be lawyer. I want to be veterinarian. Cool.
Mhm.
I'm like, does anybody, do you want your own business if you become that? Like, just kind of like seeing where their heads were at, and maybe like two people out of the day
Yeah.
were like
And
high school juniors and seniors, which it's young, but
yeah. But this is why it's so important. I think, and this might be a little off topic, but I think it should be important. Like we gotta get to them young to
Mhm.
start knowing like the different options, and to be financial be I don't even know the correct oh, hold up. No,
Oh
okay.
no! Oh no!
to,
What?
to, know, to know the correct terminology to like talk to say like financial literacy. Is that what I mean?
Yep.
I
Mhm.
think, yeah, to have that financial literacy back, like to have that in school to start young. Don't just start learning about it in college. You're already an adult. You already get, well, semi-adults, some college students, but um,
Right.
you're already in the world to where you're getting ready to start working, but you don't know what a credit score is. You don't even know what credit is. You don't know what any of these business type stuff is. You don't know that you can go and do this, start working on your credit, or you can start a trade, because some people aren't made for school. Some
Right.
people just aren't made for school. So then like, oh, so then now you don't know about these trade schools, you don't, which we still need plumbers, electricians, we still need all these things, and which are still great jobs
Yes,
and
and they make
great
a lot
paying.
of money,
Oh yeah.
especially because, nobody wants to really do it
Yeah.
anymore, or
Hmm.
it's very limited for people who do it. And just to go back on your point of, um, oh my God, what did you say? Just threw a blank. Um,
About what did I
oh
say?
gosh, I literally
About
just,
like financial literacy in school.
oh
Yeah,
yes, jeez.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, because that's my area. So,
yeah,
um,
exactly.
you see, obviously, you're taught whatever your parents knew about money, right?
Hmm.
So that's just a generational, whether it's a curse or a blessing, but
Yeah.
what they know. So if they didn't know how to balance a checkbook, they didn't know what the credit score was. If they didn't know, to even put 20 bucks away for you in an account that maybe has some growth or something like that,
Hmm.
just all of what you learn about money comes from the house. And your parents can be broke or poor, and not broke as in money, but they can be broke as in like not being able to teach money, or like
Yeah.
having a lot of money and not being able to do something to be financially secure in the future.
Hmm.
And some people have generations and generations who have taught throughout the generations, okay, this is what you do with your money,
Yeah.
this is how you save, this is how you invest, it's that blah blah blah. So it comes back to what you learn in your family. And
I mean,
your governor actually just signed a bill
yes, he did. I did see that. I
to
did
teach
see that.
financial literacy in high school now. And I'm
Mhm.
hoping that the rest of the country follows suit
Yes.
with that, because I've already been trying to teach up here. And it's
Yeah.
like when you try and go into these schools, it's like it's still, I don't know. It's just like it's not registering to people. I'm like, I will do this for free. I'm telling you right now, I will do this for free. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want anything out of it. Put a mask on me. Nobody has to know who I am. I don't know. Like, what is it that you want to do? Is
Yeah.
it because like they're like, well, I don't know. We'll let you know if like we can think of something. And I've been to several schools that have done that, and it's like what you're just
See,
setting
and,
these
and
kids
that,
up for failure.
that gets me, because you could tell they're not there for the students, because
No.
that's hindering that a child's growth, a person's growth, for future endeavors, for future businesses, for future savings, for all these different things that help build set up their future.
Exactly.
Like that could make or break somebody, whether they're going to be successful in the future versus I don't want to say mediocre, but like
Just money.
it could just hinder it. Yeah, yeah, it can hinder them in general, because now if they just knew about this one thing, I mean, when we there was so much that I heard for the first time talking with you, that I was like, I'm 30 years old and I'm just hearing about this.
Right. Yeah.
I should have learned about this 15 years ago, when I was starting to get out into the world and having to manage my own money and figure out what I'm going to do with it. If there's a bunch of steps that if I just set up earlier, then I'd be in pretty fair, not having it now, but like set up for the future and still
Exactly.
set it, like,
I don't know if you're like me, like when I got a job, no matter where it was, and even till probably 3 years ago, I spent everything that I made just because I was like, oh, well, I have it. Oh, next paycheck, I'll put some in
mhm,
savings or whatever. Why do I need a savings? Like I'm
mhm,
a college student or whatever. Like I look at that now, and as I told you before, even if like our parents put $20 away, a month or a week or something like
yeah,
that, we'd have over a couple $100,000.
yeah. Oh, I don't even want to think of it.
Just sitting, just sitting in the bank, depending on how, like, but
Yeah.
it doesn't take that much. But it's like, all right, well, if you put something away when,
Mhm.
they're born, you invest in the right thing or
Yeah.
something. it's gonna grow.
Exactly. And I'm not, because we're saying if our parents, and I'm not saying that like I'm mad at them for not doing it because they didn't know,
Exactly.
that how do they know to do that if nobody told them, if nobody taught them,
Yeah.
so, and it took, you know, but anyway,
Well, we can take these lessons and teach them to our kids and other generations,
exactly,
our family, and
exactly.
stuff like that. But
So
yeah.
now that we got that out of the way, you know, I haven't, llamas don't gotta talk about this stuff.
They don't.
Llamas just live their life. They just, contribute to society, drinking 6 gallons of water and doing their thing. But anyway,
Oh my gosh.
so with settling, can have you ever can settling be a good thing in certain situations?
I think it can. I think settling can be a good situation if it's a stepping stone for something. So if,
Oh,
as you said, so if you graduate from high school and you're doing a job that you don't want to right now, but it's funding either a passion that you're going to, or
mhm,
maybe school, or maybe, something that's helping you grow. I
right.
think that that's when it's, I mean, in my view, that's when it would be like, okay for me to settle. All right, I'm settling right now so that I can get to my dream, or I can get to like whatever my true goal is,
Right.
and kind of use it as a stepping stone.
Is it's settling, for example, like if you're continuing to work on your dream, for example, if I worked at, say, the shop down the street, and it's because it's decent money, but on the side I'm still learning, growing different things and something else, financial literacy, maybe, to go back to the example, the one that wanted to be a writer, if she was like, he or she was working on publications or working on writing a book as she was going through school, is that considered settling then?
Um,
She's still they're still working, you're still working towards the goal, so you're not suddenly like, oh, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
yeah, I don't think it would be settling as far as like, this is what I'm gonna do. Like, I don't know, in the term of like, I'm gonna settle, like, for this because I'm worth more. I
Right.
think it would be settling for the time now because, I'm humbling myself that this is what I'm doing in order to get to my next step.
Yeah.
I think it would still kind of be towards going towards that passion and that, that growth that you want,
Mhm.
but it's not going to be your dream right now.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's I mean, it's needed to, now that you don't all know, majority of people don't just start with money to where they can just do anything and everything they want, so they have to have a starting point. um so I think, in sense, you kind of have to settle for something. I call it micro settling, is what I
Yeah.
call it. you know you have to micro settle in order to get to a point to where you can um come to an agreement with yourself, like, okay, this is where I wanted to be. So I actually have a couple of definitions of the word settle. Okay,
Okay.
so, and I expanded the search to find a bunch of definitions, and I think it, because they're all kind of like, all right, these are all settling and they don't sound the greatest. All right, so it's like, to settle is to pay a debt, so if you're settling just to pay a debt, that doesn't sound like it's like, I have to do this so that I pay these bills. That's, you know what I mean? Obviously we know that we got to pay our bills, but
That would be like more of a legal definition, right? So if you got like a lawsuit, it's like a
mhm,
settlement.
settlement, yep. Or to resolve or reach an agreement, like in an argument or a problem.
Right?
um so that's I depending on who you're arguing with, that could, yeah, that's touchy. That's you know what I mean? Like,
And
you
like
argue,
agree to disagree, or just come to
uh-huh,
a common ground on something.
yep. Because if we talk about that, to settle, like reach an agreement, if you're doing that with a significant other and you're just like, fine, whatever, that opens up a whole new ball game to where it's like, all right, somebody somebody's not staying here for the next couple nights. you know um Now, here's one that's not good. I was like, I have to add this in there because this goes back to the back in the day, to silence somebody by certain means. Now, that's
Hmm.
That's a bad thing. So
Yeah.
these definitions, so these definitions, the reason why I wrote these down is because there's a lot of them that are just like settling. It doesn't seem like there is a great, like, oh, settling's a good thing. That's why I got these definitions, because there's a lot of definitions of settling that's just like, um, except for this one, you can become. So this is probably the only good definition that I saw about settling, is to become or make clearer or quieter. That's actually not a bad thing, because
Yeah.
if it's, yeah.
And that's kind of to my point of settling, where you're in, you get a job that's a stepping stone, or that, you know, is your growth in the future,
Mhm.
that helps you kind of go, because
Yeah.
you're making whatever clear. And it may be that you start, say you want to be a lawyer, right? And you get a job. Okay.
Yeah, did you hear
Yeah, what was that?
that? Just stuff.
It sounded like somebody blew into the mic.
It was something fell.
Oh.
Yeah.
So anyway, so say, you want to be a lawyer, or you think you want to be a lawyer, and then you get a job as like a legal assistant, and then you
Mhm.
realize this is too much paperwork, this is too much reading for me.
Yeah.
It could make something clear as, okay, now I have to switch up my direction, because I
Mhm.
thought I wanted to do it, but like I
Yeah.
really don't know.
Yeah, because you can start to think about like, ooh, this is not the job for me. I thought I liked this. I thought I
Mhm.
was into this. It's mentally draining, physically draining. This is just not for me. And that's why stepping stone, like mentioning stepping stones, it's good to start. Though I think it's a good thing when you start. I don't want to say started from the bottom. Now we're here.
Okay, Drake.
But I mean, like, if you could start somewhere like the beginning stages of a certain profession, so that you can go through and see, like, okay, yeah, in the long run, it may be beneficial financially, but like to actually go through it, am I passionate about this? Because people can, oh, I want to be a CEO of this big company out, which is a good dream. Have that dream. But if they're doing things that you don't like, going on up the chain, or down the chain, I should say, like, I don't want to be the CEO of a company that's making sketchy decisions, or making sketchy products, or doesn't fit right with my morals. I don't
Yes.
care how much money I make. If it's not aligned with what I believe in, I'm
Right.
sorry, it's not for me.
I absolutely agree with you. And maybe you want to be a CEO for that, you know, direct reason.
Mhm.
This company, I want to change the company, or I want
Yeah.
to, you can have those dreams too. But I think it's really important that if something doesn't align with your morals and your ethics and your values,
Yeah.
that it's got to go, because you're
Mhm.
just never going to be happy.
Right.
You're never going to be happy in that profession.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important that you start somewhere where you think that you may want to be. So if you do want to be a lawyer, becoming a legal assistant, learning a little bit about the job, and then you can decide, all right, yeah, this is what I thought it was going to be, or no, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, or this agency isn't what I thought it was going to be, this law firm wasn't going. I think it's really important to do that.
Exactly. So the last definition that I have, that I came across, that I was like, this, it kind of like summed up that settling is just not a bad thing, is, or at least, like, how there's certain things, it's a trigger, like, oh, thank God I didn't do that, because
Yeah.
um more of like
One
a
of those.
sign. Yeah, right. It was like a sign for me. I was like, yeah, don't settle. It's because the last one I saw was to gradually sink down, or to like, or sink, yeah, sinking gradually. Like, if a ship or a boat starts to sink, it's settling to the bottom gradually. So it's like, to me, that has a deeper meaning and a deeper purpose. Like, okay, if you're settling, you're slowly, depending on the situation, obviously, like for your example of a good settle, that's, you're going up. But if you're settling for something like, oh, I'm just going to do this, if I just work this job for the state for the next 25 years, I'll get my retirement and live okay. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? If you're settling, you're slowly sinking gradually down into, that's when the mental health and the
Yeah.
physical health starts to come into play, because now you're just sinking down slowly.
Yeah, why do you think those places have like the like the mental health professionals like on call?
Yeah.
Because it's real, I mean, they know what they're doing. And I'm not saying that working for the state is a bad thing,
Right.
that's what, that just wasn't my thing. I was an investigator for the state for 2 years, and
Mhm.
it just wasn't, it was too slow paced for me. It wasn't, I didn't feel like I could, how do I put this? I didn't really feel like I had a say or a viewpoint.
Mhm.
I felt like I was almost robotic, and I had to go in every day, and I had, this is what I had to do.
Yeah.
This is when I took my break. This is when I had my lunch. This is when I had my second break. And this is when I left. And I'm like, that to me is just not, it just didn't work.
Yeah. There's a lot of the, like you said, a lot of places will give you free counseling and for like, hey, we'll give you 5 free sessions to a mental health specialist or this. And it's like, well, hold on now. Why why
Your
do I
first day signing up, your first
yeah.
day on the job. Hey, so we have these mental health counseling just in case you need it. You get
Hmm.
5 free, and then
They're like, wow, well, if they're doing that, it's like, don't get me wrong, it's a great thing. Great thing. I'm glad that all companies are doing this, but why do they need that? Like obviously, obviously there's jobs that just need to be done. People need to do certain jobs. Um, Unfortunately, some people, not everyone's just not gonna not settle, if that
right.
even makes sense.
I
you
mean,
know?
and I just want everybody to know that we are not making fun of mental health or counseling, therapy, anything like that. I personally go to therapy and I love
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
And as I said before, like this is therapeutic because you just get to talk about our experiences, and that's really what it is. I mean, it's all just talking about our experiences. We're not judging anybody who, works in any of these professions or
Right.
is in state service, because you are, and you should be valued,
Mhm.
because it's important that we do have these positions and these roles that are filled.
Yeah.
And but I just wanted to make that clear with everybody that we are not judging or like
No.
making fun of or anything like that.
Exactly. And I actually think it's beneficial. I think personally it should be um it's almost like a gym. Like you don't how do I explain what I'm trying to say? I think everybody should seek and talk with a physical, not a physical therapist, a mental like
Physical therapists too. Maybe we got some
right?
joints that we gotta get back
Yeah.
going.
But mental health specialist, because you can if you're already like and not feeling well mentally, then there's something wrong that happened previously. If you can prevent that, if you start talking about things now before they get really bad, I think it's very beneficial. I was talking with somebody, it's like everybody should seek one out, because it's not just about like, oh, I'm not feeling, I'm sad and depressed, I need help. It's about, I don't want to feel sad and depressed. Let me
Right.
take these steps now. And I do think that is important. And I take that into consideration. I swiped on my computer and it took the screen away. So it shocked me. But I think it is important.
I
I think
agree.
I think definitely mental health. I've been impacted. Well, my mom's been impacted pretty heavily from mental health as far as like family and stuff. So it's a big part of what I believe in. So I definitely think everybody should, if you don't already, just think about that as a mindset that if you go to a mental health specialist, it's not because you're broken. It's
Right.
everybody can use it.
Yeah, and I think it's important to also realize that exactly what you said, that you don't want to go when things are like the worst, and like all of a sudden
Mhm.
you go in and you're talking about all these problems, and your therapist or your mental health specialist never got to see who you were before you're having all these
Yeah.
issues, and can't really say, all right, well, this is how to navigate, because maybe they don't know you, they don't know how maybe broken you are. Maybe you're just talking about a bunch of things, get off your chest, and then you never go back there again or something.
Yeah.
You want to build that relationship, in my opinion, you want to build that relationship sooner rather than later. And it's also going to build your tolerance to like things that are happening to you, because you're going to have that outlet, you're going to have someone to talk to, instead of
Yeah.
holding it in and all of a sudden then just lashing out, or um, using it down the road. So
Mhm.
in my opinion, not saying that you need it. Like we're not saying that, all right, yeah, go do it because you're gonna have like a mental breakdown or something.
Right.
Um,
Don't settle for less for yourself. That was like one of my biggest takeaways, or my biggest points that I wanted to build upon when we're talking about never settle is don't settle for a less of a value for yourself. Know that you are worth more no matter who says you're not worth it, or you don't think that you're worth it. Just that type of thing. I think it's important to know that you are worth it. You're worth every step of every part of growth. Of you're worth more than you probably even realize. So keep that into consideration.
Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, so
And if you ever feel like you're not, hit us up on
yes.
social media, which is at the Life Well Lived podcast.
Mm,
And we're on Instagram, social media of all sorts,
mhm.
Facebook. We have an email as well. So feel free to email us at the Life Well Lived podcast at gmail.com.
Yes,
We're
please
always
do.
here for you. And again, please know that we take these conversations as personal, growth opportunities for ourselves and speak
Yeah.
to our own experiences.
Yeah,
So
don't think that we're 100, like there's a lot of stuff that going through this podcast that I realized that I need to work on. So we're with you. Yeah, we're with you. Just to kind of wrap things up, there's a couple things that will be coming along in the future. Just to kind of briefly talk about it, we're wrapping up on close to 10 different topics. So in the future, we're gonna be on the lookout for the 10 commandment list, what we think, and we're gonna work on these separately and see where each topic ranks personally for each of us. And that'll be another episode where we're going to talk about that and dive into that. So be on the lookout. We got some guests coming up to talk about other certain topics. So be on the lookout for that as well. If you want to be a guest on the podcast, please reach out. We'd love to have you. We'd love to talk with you, even if it's on a topic previously. We still like to get different opinions for different people. And then if you have a topic, a lot of these topics, I actually have people commenting and emailing. Hey, can you talk about this topic? Absolutely. Let's talk about it. Share with us, please. Please, we'd love to hear from you.
absolutely. All right, guys, you have a great day and take care. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care, guys.